Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I see we are a rather distinguished group by now. I've received an email that one at least is going to be here a little later. Um, okay, nonetheless, we are going to have a presentation of today, actually two. But before that, I would like to come to some points which I have outlined here um, that I would like to have mentioned in advance. Um, One issue is that the presenter of February 8, the case study, environmental justice case study on Germany, has dropped off. So there is either a presentation available or I'm going to present on a case in Germany. Secondly, the video has not been uploaded of the last session. This is due to some health issues I had due to the cold temperature, but I will upload it by tomorrow, so the last session will be available then on YouTube. I have sent around an additional reading, actually 2 additional readings. I hope everyone has received and has been able to access it so far. I have not announced this in advance, but generally I think accompanying reading to the more theory-driven seminar which we had so far is a good idea, and also the presenter of today, Dominic, is going to make use of this reading later on. I don't know who is one person I don't know by name who is in the virtual classroom by now. Is Andrea or Anke here? In that case, the book of Gozin and Tilak Singh, of which I have spoken a lot about, which I believe is one of the best introductions to environmental justice in theory and historically, has been bought and placed in the Handapparat in the library of the Politikwissenschaft at University Marburg, is so available and worth having a look at. Generally, I would like to refer to some dates I have given in the first session so that you remember. I have given all who want to write a term paper the option to send in by January 31 a 250-word abstract answering the W and H questions in order to agree on like the main topic where to write about, and also optional, if you submit by February 28, you get a feedback of mine and can revise the final paper. With regards to all that, what I've said so far, are there issues, questions, something you want to ask me? Okay. Generally, we are going to have in the second half of the seminar in January an evaluation, teaching evaluation. I do this regularly. This is going to be made online, and I will save 20 minutes in one of the sessions where you all get a link provided and where you are able to not only say what you think about my teaching skills, but also about the format and so forth. And I find this of big value, and HZ is working on providing such a link for us. Okay. Having said all this, I would like to start with a very brief introduction. I think you may have wondered after reading the description of the course how much we have referred to theories so far. The reason actually is that a lot of seminars in the field of environmental political science are more case study driven, and I believe that theories are at the end the way for us to analyze and understand the broadest variety of environmental problems, and this was the reason why we have focused so much on different theories and will until end of December. To summarize what we have heard in terms of different theories, I wanted to summarize somehow by briefly introducing to like the principles of a theory. So basically, the main question is what is a theory? Has any one of you a clue what is a theory? You can also use the nice emojis we are having. Okay, Sebastian.
Okay, I hope you can all hear me. I think a theory is a model of the world, the world is much more complex, and the theory simplifies it. So it's making the world less abstract and makes it easier to understand.
Exactly, this goes in the right direction already. So a theory basically. Oh no. Please raise your hand again. Lisa.
Yeah, it's nothing completely new or different to what Sebastian said, but I think a theory always tries also to predict whatever that then is, whatever kind of relationship it tries to modulate or explain or whatever.
Absolutely, very good points. In particular, when we look at that, what a theory contains, there are two basic definitions, which also will help us to distinguish of whether some model is a theory or not. As Lisa has said, a theory is a specific claim, meaning it's a prediction of like how the world works, as Sebastian said correctly. And by this model, we can look at an example which every one of us has heard about for sure, like the economic law of supply and demand is a theory. Do you know the economic law of supply and demand? Then just give me a quick agree sign, otherwise I will explain it, or you can, so, yeah, okay. Sebastian, Annika? Okay, at least one does not know. So would one of those which know what it is quickly explain what this means? Lisa? Lisa, we cannot hear you. Okay. Lisa, do you okay, Lisa is somehow. Okay, somehow we cannot hear Lisa. It's okay. Basically, the economic law of supply and demand assumes that the market is working according to that what is produced, based on that what is demanded by people. So there are two principles: willingness to pay and availability to pay, and based on that what people are willing to pay for a product, this determines price, and determining the price and the end results in the products which are available in the market. But it's a little more complicated, but basically this is a very well-known theory with these regards. But as I've said, there is a second definition which applies, and this is the general imaginaries on how the world works. And a very good example of this is the Marxist theory. A theory is not only a single prediction. It's not only saying like poverty is going to be vanished. Marxist theory provides a broad variety of like how the world works based on labor, so to say. This leads to numerous advantages of a theory, and these categories I have outlined are also be applicable to the theories we have heard so far. And one of the theory advantages is that we simplify, as Sebastian said, the world, but it helps us also to focus on research, which also means when a theory helps us to focus on a particular question of research, it limits that what we can say about the world based on the theory we have used in advance. Finally, it helps us to produce a lot of claims and test a theory, which leads us to the last point here, which is the most important in my opinion. All theory must be falsifiable. Would anyone know of you what falsifiable means in this context? Kevin?
Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Excellent. Falsifiable means that it can be proven to be untrue or not true.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, because a theory is a postulate or an idea about how things work, if evidence is provided to the contrary, then, the theory can no longer be valid.
Exactly. And this is a very, very important point. And this is how we should look at theories. And having this in mind, you may look differently at the theories we have approached so far, of whether all these theories really sufficiently have these characteristics. Okay. This brings us to the theories in general we have, for example, looked at, and there are some major theories on the international system which you should by now at least know by name and at best know with some features. And this is for sure the modernization theory with which we have started and which Mareike has presented in the beginning, and the world system theory for sure, which we heard last time, to which dependency somehow belongs, plus like the interconnection between dependency theory and modernization theory. But as I've mentioned several times, but we haven't gone into because it's not so relevant for the interconnection between environmental justice and sustainable development, but world polity theory of John Mayer as a new institutional approach is very important, and the roof concept globalization theory, to which we can count some famous authors like Huntington's Clash of Civilization and so forth. So I think you're going to get past a lot of theories like this, and based on these categories, you should be able to judge not only whether something is a theory, whether you like it or not, but also the value of a theory for your particular research, which you are going to do at the end of your bachelor studies, master studies, maybe doctoral studies, and so forth. This is actually what a theory is about and what it is good for. Okay, this brings us to the very simple conclusion that different theories represent different viewpoints. I think we have learned this so far, and this is what actually Dominic is going to speak about now. You have had a broad reading to do for this session, and I hope it wasn't too challenging. If it was, and it might be in some points, I will be here also for answering all the questions, and from now I would actually hand over to Dominic to handle the rest of the session. Dominic, just for your information, you can just click forward because I've linked the two presentations together.
Okay. Do you hear me? Can everyone give me a sign, please, that you hear me? You want to say something? No. Anita, okay, fine. Okay, perfect. Okay, so hi everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's session with the title History and Conceptions for Worldviews on Environmental Change. First, I would like to go through the structure. First, I have some questions of the session, like central questions I had in mind while I was preparing the presentation. Then, because I find it important to understand the four worldviews, I'd like to briefly make a historical overview of the concept of sustainable development and the perception of environmental change. And chapter 3 is actually the main part of the presentation today. So we're going to talk about the market liberals, the institutionalists, the bioenvironmentalists, and the social greens. And therefore I copied a table from Mr. Kaufmann, from Goethe. And then we're gonna have a short group work. Short, maybe not so short. Okay, so central questions of the session. Oh, yeah, and by the way, if you have any questions, please let me know, and just give me a hand sign. And and another thing Goethe already mentioned, in part I didn't quite understand the text because it was I'm not an economist, so it was sometimes it was kind of difficult. So you always can ask, and as Goethe wrote this text, we can always ask him. Okay, so to the central questions of the session. How did the debate on sustainable development evolve? There's one question we should keep in mind throughout the presentation. How did the four worldviews on environmental change evolve, and what are they about? And what is the four worldviews attitude towards sustainability? This one is really important because everything you say that it goes around the question what means nature for us, and what does sustainability mean for the different worldviews. Yeah, but I'm gonna explain that later more detailed. Okay, so the historical overview. That's just really shortly, because I thought it's like I'm just gonna start. So in the late 1960s, there were 3 pieces of work published that referred to Thomas Malthus and his work, The Principle of Population, in 1789. I think every one of you already heard of Thomas Malthus, but well, I'm gonna quickly, as in one sentence, just gonna sum up what he said. He said, as in his work, he focuses on growing population as the most pressing concern for resource scarcity. And his model has been criticized for his pessimism and the lack of trust in the future destiny of mankind in general, especially from a technical, optimistic point of view. Well, so the three pieces of works, or one of the three pieces of works were from Anne and Paul Ehrlich, with the title The Population Bomb from 1968. They basically draw on Malthus' main thesis, how overpopulation is a threat to humankind, and they suggested a de-development in the US, and de-development means bringing our economic system, especially our patterns of consumption, into line with the realities of ecology and the world resource situation. So what they don't actually have a solution. They actually want current economists to find a solution for the problem. And the book is more like a claim for action than anything else. Yeah, of course, yeah, it's a claim for action. Yeah. Okay, so the other publication is a paper from Garrett Harding from 1968, which is called The Tragedy of the Commons. And he says that the pollution problem we have in the world is a consequence of population. So in his paper, he says that if a group of individuals have open access to a common good, like natural resources, like a lake, for example, and decide on based on their self-interest, as assumed by Adam Smith, this will lead to an over-exploitation of the natural resource. So yeah, I hope you did understand that. If not, just please give me a sign. Yeah. So okay. Lisa, that means that you understood, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the last publication is a study from Donella and Dennis Meadows from 1972, which is called The Limits to Growth. And he developed a study, or like a model, based on 5 different variables, and these are world population, industrialization, pollution, food production, and resource depletion population. And actually, in the study they pointed out that the limits will be reached at a certain point within 100 years, and at that point, prompt and uncontrollable decline of population and industrial production capacity will most likely take place. So this was the first environment-based, theory-based, that challenged the economic system after the Second World War and on an international scale. And he targeted both dominant economic systems, also real socialism and capitalism. And yeah, so yeah, the reference to Malthus' main thesis, also overpopulation as the main threat to humankind, is something that is still very influential until today. But still, at that time, there was an organization. This organization still exists, which really, and many other people as well, criticized the main thesis, because the focus became always the overpopulation and not climate change or poverty. So, but in the end, the suggestions always seem to be you have to use contraceptives against climate change. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. So the next, slide is my timeline. And as you can see, I kind of use the Huber's 5-phase model. I hope I forgot the word, like you recognize it, yeah. So I just wanted to show that in the 1960s until 1972, the debate on sustainable development started. As you saw, like with all the publications and the discussion about population growth. So in 1960, also there were all these environmental moves, the peace movement, for example, as well, the anti-nuclear movement, especially in Germany, and so that was the emergence period. Then came the boost period, with the publication of Meadows. This was the first time that people tried to institutionalize on global institutionalize it was the first time to actually talk about sustainable development, and it was a starting phase of a growing environmental movement, and to institutionalize this movement. And then came the transition period, as Huber said, which it became more important how to achieve sustainable development than to talk about just the concept of sustainability on one hand, and on the other hand the concept of development. And it was as well the time when environmental justice movements in the US began. So in the early 1990s, they were characterized by the institutional struggles with the purpose to find a solution and to grow awareness, and as well there was the very important conference on environment and development in Rio 1992, as you all know. And then there came, since 2000, as Huber said, since 2000, it was the period of maintenance and decomposition. And another important point for me now is COP21 in Paris, which took place last year. So So now we're going to talk about the 4 worldviews on environmental change. So for me, like what I took out of the text, and I hope you guys too, was that everything revolved around the question whether nature or the natural environment has an intrinsic right to exist, like if nature has a value itself, or whether we humans should should have the right to exploit nature because nature has no value itself, and that we only use the natural resources to we just economize the natural resources. So this is always the question whether nature has a right to exist. Is it a value itself, or does it only become a value when we economize it? Something like that. And that was like the guide question I had in mind. So the ecosystem. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. How do
you just need to give me the word because we are both have the same role. That's why there's nothing you can enable, but you should just say that I can ask my question so that we are not talking at the same time.
Okay. So I don't have to do anything. I don't have to press anything.
No, not when I'm raising my hand. Only when the others do. I just want to add, I mean, exactly that what Dominic said. This is called, in contemporary debate, ecosystem services. They try to give nature some value somehow. It's not working so easily because the basic theory does not assume nature has a value. And it's good if you remember the keyword because you're getting to be confronted with it in the future for sure.
Yeah. Actually, that's what you see a lot in it's part of the goal. The ecosystem services are just nature economized, or like giving them a monetary value, something like that. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna continue. So okay, when we talk about the 4 worldviews, we talk about 4 ideal types of worldviews. So this is really categorized, and of course, in the reality, it's not like that because there are many people who have different perspectives, and maybe they find themselves in assumptions that, or they do share assumptions with the market liberals as well with the social greens or something like that. So, but these are just 4 categories. And so the market liberals, they base all their assumptions on neoclassic economies, on neoclassic methodology and theory, and they usually originate from the field of economics practically and theoretically. They assume that individual preferences and high income per capita are essential for human welfare and the maintenance of sustainable development. And based on individual preferences and expressed by monetary terms and supported by neoclassic theory, they come to the assumption that the market will regulate itself and eventually lead to an optimum. So this was the part in the text I didn't, which wasn't too easy for me to understand. But so market liberals, that if we sum up all the individual preferences, we come to a maximum, and at this point we reach optimum, and at that optimum we could reach sustainability, but we only okay. Okay, I don't know, maybe Lisa, you wanna say it? Okay, neoclassic, yeah, I cannot define that. Yeah.
Dominic, would you mind that I quickly interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, of course. No. Okay.
I make it brief, but it is crucial to understand without going too much into detail. The classics of a political economy, simply named by Adam Smith and David Ricardo and for sure Karl Marx in the 19th century, have established different approaches to understand the relationship between society and economy. And the neoclassics actually have drawn to these old classics, and for sure not Karl Marx, but in particular Adam Smith. And one of the basic assumptions of Adam Smith and his theory, as he was one of the moral philosophers of Scotland, Scottish moral philosophers, was the invisible hand. And you may want to remember this because the invisible hand of the market has been like the key argument for future economic theory development. So there is an invisible hand which, like magically, manages to turn the complexity of society into the better, so to say. There is the belief that the market itself has some regularities which help society developing. Neoclassics have drawn on this. So the regulation of the market is doing good for the society, and somehow this magic force, this invisible hand of the market, should play a major role by resolving the problem. Did this make like the concept neoclassic or neoclassic economics, as Dominic put it, somehow clear? Is this clear for you? Then just give me an agree sign or ask a question if it's still a mystery for you. Okay, Lisa. Okay, Lisa. If there was something unclear, just ask me. And Dominic, as for you, I mean, feel free now also to ask me questions you didn't understand in the text you have read, because we are at the point speaking about the market liberals, and what you have not understood was probably not written in a way that it was understandable, which is my fault, and I'm happy to answer the questions now.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, guys. No, I as we spoke yesterday, so I think I didn't get all the details, but I think I got it. So yeah. Okay. So it's kind of like, yeah. Again, so market liberals base everything they think on the assumption that if a group of individuals follow their preferences, that's gonna lead to an optimum. And if the group of individuals consider current and future generations as the preferences of current and future generations, because they are rational and make decisions rationally, then that's the optimum, and then we reached the point of sustainability, which means, okay, nowadays I decide, because I'm rational, that I'm not gonna use all the water in the world, and because there are future generations that will need this water as well. Then yeah, that's the point where I'm thinking sustainably. But still, it's not about it's just considering the future preferences. It's not about helping or something like that. And natural resources are seen as something that we need to economize. So yeah. Okay, I hope you got that. Oh yeah, and the other, yeah, and all these and this assumption really bases on that we have the full information right now, so that we know what maybe generations in 200 years will need, and everything what will happen in the next 200 years. And another assumption is that people now believe in the concept of perfect altruism, which I understood is that that people right now or nowadays really want to consider the preferences of people of the future generations. So yeah, so sustainability is an optimality, and market liberals see or consider market failures due to institutional failure, which means that market liberals say if the institutions, if the state wouldn't intervene that much in the market could regulate itself, which refers again to this invisible hand that was talking about. So that's the institution is not good for the market. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there was. Yeah, no. So that's it for the market liberals. We're continuing with the institutionalist. Okay, so the institutionalists focus on institutional frameworks. They focus on institutional cooperation, and they originate from the scientific field of political science and international relations. They think that, of course, in contrary to the market liberals, they think in contrary to the market liberals, institutionalists don't think that it's an institutional failure if we don't economize, or if we don't develop sustainably. They think it's a market failure, and that's why they demand for stronger institutional frames and norms, for sufficient governmental capacity to regulate and direct the global market and political economy. And they obviously share the traditional opinions about the value of economic growth, investment, technology, notion of sustainable development with the market liberals. Also, that's what I said in the beginning. So these two groups, market liberals and institutional, they really think, they really think that natural resources we have the right to we have the right to use. So another point. So they think environmental degradation and social inequalities are a result of communication and cooperation failures. Okay. So we continue with the bioenvironmentalists. Bioenvironmentalists focus on the ecosystem and biophysical laws, on natural science assumptions about nature, and they emphasize on the limits of the planet and the underestimation of non-human animals, as well as the ecosystems within the given system of economic development. They focus on the population growth, and they consider it the most pressing concern, since humans are using resources way too fast. And that's where in this category we have to put the neo-Malthusianism, also neo-Malthusianism, for example, Anne and Paul Ehrlich.
Neo-Malthusian. Neo-Malthusian is the pronunciation. Sorry, just to make it easier for the future.
Please again. I didn't. Okay. I probably say it wrong another time, but yeah, hard. They critique the anthropocentrism and the self-interested priority listing of humankind, and their solution is the cut down of economic development and population growth in favor of long-term existence of humans on Earth. Okay, so one representative of bioenvironmentalists is Herman Daly, I think. He says that economy is a subsystem of ecological of the ecological system, and therefore depends on the ecosystem. I really like this quote in this text. He says, in short, if growth is a quantitative increase in physical scale, in short, if growth is quantitative increase in physical scale, while development is qualitative improvement or unfolding of potentialities. Yeah. I think that citation really shows what he wants to say, and you realize that there is a different approach to sustainability. So this means that bioenvironmentalists, they emphasize on sustainability and not on development. So this is like the first group of the four groups. The first group of the four groups that actually see nature as a value, or considers nature as a value itself, and not something we necessarily have to use. Yeah. Still, but I think here is still important. Well, I don't know, Götz, maybe that's a question for you. I asked myself whether ecosystem services if bioenvironmentalists are in favor of ecosystem services. Maybe that's a question you could answer.
Sure. Actually, you are asking for an interesting concept. The truth is that ecosystem services are mainly promoted by bioenvironmentalists, which see it as a way to influence the dominant regime in terms of Foucault's definition of the leading discourse, which is contemporarily led by the market liberals. So they try to push the ecosystem services concept into the market liberal consideration of profit making, to somehow use their resources. We can see this in terms of like how research is funded, but also how lobbying is made. And what you have said in the beginning is absolutely true. People are often belong to more than one worldview. And a good combination of these two is ecosystem services, where they think that the market liberal view would move towards that what Hermann Daly said. And the Daly quotation is good insofar as well, because the development concept contains two distinctive factors, and this is a quantitative increase of volume and a qualitative improvement of quality. Which means you may think about it like we can produce double as much products as last year, but this also goes by means of technical development. If we have a better technical development, we have a new quality of production. And what we are actually measuring is only the quantity and not the quality. And the hope of bioenvironmentalists which focus on ecosystem services is that market liberal thinking will take into account this second part of development and somehow allow nature to get a value in the calculation. Did this answer this question, or was this more confusing than before?
No, it was yeah. By that I understood it better. Yeah. I think Kevin wants to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Goods a question about the ecosystem services then. Don't the bioenvironmentalists and the market liberals essentially speak two different languages? One is the bioenvironmentalists are coming from sort of I don't know how to say it, like a touchy feelings, sort of like a hippie side, like we should see the intrinsic value in nature, and the market liberals more than likely are approaching things with like we need numbers, we are driven by production and monetary value. I mean, I know that's an oversimplification, but I could see them not being able to communicate very well.
Okay, I'm not sure I got the question. Like, your question is also, are you is it confusing for you that bioenvironmentalists support the idea of ecosystem services? Is that right? Or
I guess I'm trying to figure out, do the bioenvironmentalists, are they trying to get ecosystem services, or sorry, let me start again. Is ecosystem services a way for bioenvironmentalists to get their preferences and views for the way the world should work into the market liberals' mindset, because the market liberals are predominant right now? Or like, I don't see that these two ideas can really communicate, because one is sort of based on feelings and intrinsic values, and the other one is based on, I believe, to be hard numbers.
Okay. I think I got your question. I think it actually has very little to do with feelings. I mean, like the perspective from bioenvironmentalists, because they really base all their assumptions on natural science. On natural science and they're just no economists. And as Gert said before, I think ecosystem services is like a way like to push into this to push the thought of like how to express nature in numbers, but yeah, maybe as well to gain more power. That's how I understood it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Gert, do you wanna like add something, because you just said that you just explained ecosystem services. I don't know if you wanna say something.
Yeah, just quickly. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, you covered most of it. The bioenvironmentalists are not the hippie fraction in the environmental field. We are coming to these in the next on the next slide. But indeed, Kevin is right insofar as it is an attempt of two groups mainly focusing on different academic disciplines and using different concepts. And when an economist is speaking about ecosystem services, he or she definitely means something completely different from what a bioenvironmentalist intended to say. But there's an overlap. And it is an attempt, as Kevin rightly said, to get a concern considered in the market liberal theory. And in the 80s, when Herman Daly wrote his papers and became very prominent before the Iron Curtain broke down and everything changed, there has been a lot of critics on the existing neoclassic approach of development, and a lot of ideas that Herman Daly or Gerges-Rögen and some others came up with have been thought to be somehow a solution to the contradictions produced by the market liberals. Nowadays, it appears a bit to us that bioenvironmentalists are a little bit like it. What I can say from my collaboration with ecologists, in particular in Canada, it is a very difficult debate on environmental issues, because it feels very emotional when they discuss about society, but it's not true in terms of their academic argumentation, because all what they say is based in numbers, and they can prove that what we are doing is harming the environment and harming our society. But it's more the theory approach that like this rationality needs to lead to a change in the mindset, which is actually not happening like this so easily.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So thank you, and thank you for the question, Kevin. We're gonna continue with the social green and the last group. The focus of the social green, and they focus on justice. On justice. They focus on the point that they think that social and environmental problems result from contemporary economic development, and they think the inequality and the dominant structure they belong together. They inhibit equal access to the environmental goods, as well as appropriate payment for the environmental bad. They think that the nature conservation has a priority, and they would obviously accept zero growth as a stagnation of the economic growth. It's as a social greens really represent like a grassroots perspective. It's kind of like the basis versus the superstructure, and by that, if we translate that into the 4 worldviews, it would be like the social greens versus the institutionalists. They emphasize, as well as bioenvironmentalists do, on sustainability and not on development, and that's why they claim for more influence. They critique like the whole global structure, and they call for a return of power to local authority, and autonomy, and for empowering those who have no voice. So it's really about the marginalized groups. So yeah, as they critique the whole global structure, they want to rethink the whole, and because they assume that various problems of the political and economic system are bound to each other, that they are intertwined. Yeah. Okay, so in this group, what we said is like to social greens belong, it's like ein Sammelbecken, and because there are a lot of, it's a broad range of approaches. For example, anti-capitalistic persons, Marxian feminist approaches, radical ecologists, or eco-fascist groups, which I found really interesting because I never heard of them. And they really claim for like this back to nature ideology. And yeah, and yeah, of course, environmental justice movements have to be put into this group of the social greens. Okay, so now I would like, I think, yeah, you can see it. I hope, yeah. I would like for people of you to just maybe read us through, read every position, just really briefly, but just, I don't know, for me to hear your voices. And yeah, I don't know if anyone would like to read out loudly the market liberals, and then the institutionalists, and then the bioenvironmentalists, and the social greens. Just reading.
All right, so the market liberals have their focus on neoclassic economics. They don't see any environmental problem, just some inevitable problems which are resolvable by human genius, modern science, technical progress, such as through the World Bank, World Trade Organization, World Business Council, etc. They see the causes of problems in poverty, weak economic growth, market failures, and poor governmental policies. Their forecast proposals are to promote economic growth, enhance efficiency, correct market and policy failure, market-based incentives, and promote voluntary corporate greening. And their general attitude is optimistic.
Thank you, Lisa. Someone else?
No problem.
So, who am I listening? The
institutionalists. They focus on institutionalism. They do not believe that there is an environmental problem yet, but the potential for crises do exist. Although there is a possibility to improve the effectiveness of regimes and global institutions, such as the UNEP. They believe that we...
Sorry. The UNEP is the United Nations Program on Environment.
Thank you. I wasn't going to be able to come up with that right off the top of my head. What are the causes of the problems? Weak institutions or regimes, inadequate global cooperation, underdevelopment, or perverse effects of state sovereignty. They propose stronger global institutions, norms, regimes, also technology distribution or increased capacity of the state, as well as a precautionary principle. And they are semi-optimistic.
Yeah, thank you. Marcus, do you want to read?
Yeah, the bioenvironmentalists focus on the ecosystem, and they argue that there is an environmental problem, and that the Earth's carrying capacity in shortly the Earth's carrying capacity is shortly achieved or even crossed, and main groups who argue like this are the neo-Malthusianists. I have the same problem, and Herman Daly. And the causes for the environmental problems is the human instinct, overpopulation, excessive economic growth, and overconsumption. And they propose a new global economy with in limits to growth, limit of population growth, to reduce consumption and internalize non-human life, and the coexistence of with the nature. And for the future, they are, or for the general attitude, they are rather semi-pessimistic.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Please. Annika, are you there?
I hope you can hear me now.
Yes. Yeah, now I
Okay,
can.
perfect. So the social Greens focus on environmental justice. They are convinced that there are environmental problems and say that local and global injustice advance the problem. They include, well, they are a widespread group. They include anti-capitalists, anarchists, eco-fascists, etc., and back to nature ideology. As the main, well, as causes of problems, they identify large-scale industrial life. Some call it global capitalism, social and environmental exploitation, and unequal patterns of consumption. Their forecast proposals are reject industrialism, restore local community autonomy, empower marginalized, promote justice and indigenous knowledge systems, and their general attitude is quite pessimistic.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think there comes the group work.
I will now provide the document of the first group.
Okay.
Here we go.
So who's gonna present like the thoughts you had? No? Markus?
The market liberals would argue that the state should just set up the rules, but not really intervene into the market and rely on the market rather, and that the main solution for all the problems would be not sustainable development, but rather economic growth in general. And they like for when it comes to markets, they deny even climate change and would say that it's an acceleration, and that the overall aim should be first that the market is functioning, and that poverty has to be resolved first before tackle any other problems. Maybe the other group members want to add something? Otherwise, I would be...
Yeah, thank you, Markus. I agree with the point. I think that's what they would say. Yeah.
Okay, I will then upload the whiteboard of group 2.
Okay. Okay.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello.
Okay. Hi. So Mareike and I represent the institutionalists. We have a semi-optimistic outlook or general view on things. There have been several negotiations or agreements reached in the past, and we're hoping for ongoing cooperation, although we recognize that there are still many hurdles to overcome, and that it will be a challenge to keep up cooperation, especially in regards to recent political movements, both especially in the U.S., but also in some European Union member states. Our first priority would be to make sure that the U.S. does not back out of any of this agreement, or to attempt to keep them from removing themselves from this. Unfortunately, there's precedence for the United States to not cooperate on global climate agreements, like as in the Kyoto Protocol. If that were to happen, if we were not able to secure their participation in this type of or in ongoing global cooperation, we do believe that either an EU member state or China would be forced to take over the lead on something like this, just based on its based on the financial as well as organizational capacities that would be required for organization like this at the global level. Hopefully this would also allow us to maintain strong cooperation as well as the connection to the past agreements, and hopefully to continue those efforts into the future. And finally, we believe that we need to focus on the institutionalization of finance for climate or for global climate agreements, and support the adaptation and mitigation measures that would potentially benefit from the money that we could put towards that.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that's really, really important in the text. It comes really out that the institutionalists really try really hard to find cooperations and between institutions. So hopefully the missing of the United States will not be a huge problem. Yeah, so they really focus on cooperations between stakeholders and institutions. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I will then bring up the whiteboard of the third group, sorry. Here we go.
All right, I have one question. I also put it into the chat room because I think we're out of time, and I'll make it really short. About the bioenvironmentalists, we're obviously happy that natural science research is taken into account. The achievements that are or the treaties that are made in the COPs are going to the right direction, but are most likely not enough. For example, the stop of temperature rise, which is good if that would actually happen, but we believe that probably it won't and won't be enough, especially also when developing countries, put a lot of effort in. Well, and when they are getting industrialized, then that means a lot of more global warming. We believe that the problems that arise through population growth are not sufficiently tackled. The underlying vision actually of consumerism is not really dealt with, which we believe is one of the main causes to climate change. Also, well, what is good is that the topics of like the intrinsic value of nature, like biodiversity, that should be what's it called? Protected, are actually taken into account. And finally, the speed that, since the Paris Agreement is taken up, gives reason for hope, although we have many doubts because so many years have already been wasted on kind of talking and nothing really happened, just as the Kyoto Protocol.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, I have nothing to add, actually.
Okay, then let just me quickly go into the question. The Paris Agreement actually explicitly acknowledged the role of non-state actors. So from an institutional viewpoint, it is very welcome. The question is in as much as I have had like the social greens, I will just refer to some little issues. There is not much in for social greens, which is due to the frame of the Paris Agreement, which has left a lot of things open. And the question now is rather like in as much the United States are going to fulfill their more important funding role, and it's most likely that they won't. Just two things I rather from the other text, which I sent you for reading, is I think important to consider. First, stepping out of the Paris Agreement would last at least until November 4, 2020, which is one day after the possible re-election or not re-election of Donald Trump. So if they would try to step out of the Paris Agreement, this would not take effect during his presidency. And secondly, the role of non-state actors could be seen also like the social greens would basically say like it was that what we have expected. The institutions are not able to resolve the problem, and now we have also the step out of one of the most important funding group. We have always wanted a more binding, more inclusive agreement where like grassroots play a bigger role than they do by now, and this is the result what we are seeing. Dominic, do you wanna finish your presentation now?
Yes, please. I think it's time. Yeah. No, thank you everyone for your participation and attention. Okay. There's one question from Kevin. So,
I think Kevin has.
Yeah, the question. Yeah. I think it has to do with Lisa's question as well. Like, if institutionalists would support cooperations between NGOs and between NGOs and other institutions, and I would say yes, I think they would, but I don't think it's that relevant for them because their focus is like really on the international community, I guess. Yeah. So, and yeah, as well with the aspect of that they have no money. Yeah, that's true. So maybe that's why it's not that relevant for them. I don't know if you want to add something, Gert, because I really have no idea if I'm right.
Okay, I mean, the thing with the money is only one aspect. The biggest problem is, and in that case, like the prospect of Hauber was true. I mean, the environmental movement is weak. If the environmental movement would be strong, it would be of societal relevance. Then it would be important to form opinions right now it is indeed, as Kevin said, they don't have any money, they don't have any significant societal influence compared to the 70s, which makes them like relevant in terms of their like societal role, as institutionalists are based on institutional roles and like society to participate. But as a classical analysis of contemporary situation, they would rather say like we cannot rely on them because they anyway are just representing a minority. Okay then, thank you everyone to come and to stay longer. Thank you very much. This was very good that we could finalize the discussion. I see you next week for the next presentation. Who's going to present next week? Who's the one who's presenting next week? Sebastian? Okay. Yes, Sebastian?
Yeah, I present next week, and I just wanted to ask if I should rejoin the presentation or if I should rejoin now.
Exactly. I will finish the session for now. Thank you very much to everyone. Dominic, please rejoin, and Sebastian as well. And then we make a short recap, and all the others have a great week, great weekend, and I'll see you next week.